I think it's time that I touch on the psychological aspect of sexual attraction because it's more than just about a physical sensation, it's psychological. And based off of that psychological aspect of it, it's going to play a big part in the desire level to do it. It's not just, well, I think this person's going to give me this physical sensation. You don't completely know that yet. You don't know that yet. So that means there's something else that's influencing you based off of how attracted you are to an individual. So at a 10 level of sexual attraction, we're going to start backwards from 10 instead of starting at 5 this time. At a 10 level of sexual attraction, the way that a woman feels about a man is that she would be willing to get aggressive for it. Having his body in her body in any capacity is something that's going to turn her on, is something that's going to make her feel validated, mentally and emotionally, without him having to show any interest to get it, right? This is at the level of he doesn't have to approach her. He doesn't have to do anything. She will do all the work because she is so attracted to him or she values him so highly, like let's say he's a celebrity or something, that being able to sleep with him at all is just going to validate her ego just to be able to say she slept with that man. Now, at a 9 level of sexual attraction, now you're at a place where a woman will feel validated by giving you pleasure, right? Now, what I mean by this is if she's giving you head, that'll be enough for the encounter. She doesn't need to have sex with you. She doesn't need you to reciprocate pleasure. She doesn't need anything. All she needs is to feel like she's giving you pleasure. And that will be enough for her to be satisfied. At an 8 level of sexual attraction, she needs to feel that your sexual interest is reciprocated, right? That means if you approach a woman and you compliment her and then you let her know that you're trying to have sex with her and you know how to say that in a smooth enough way, then to her, that is something that will turn her on. You can be very direct with her, right? The masculinity of your approach, because she feels validated by how masculine your approach is. So it's not just your physical appearance, but your physical appearance is high enough to where if your approach is masculine, it will validate her through the masculinity of your approach, right? And the fact that you desire her is enough to turn her on. Now, when we get into a 7 level of sexual attraction, you being willing to put your desires to the side is what validates her enough to want to have sex with you because it makes her feel safe. So she doesn't, she's willing to have sex with you. The thought of it is half decent, but she's not super excited about it and she's not super anticipating it necessarily unless you've validated her that much. But just you trying to make her comfortable, you trying to set the mood, set the vibe, have the perfect cologne on, have the perfect outfit on, have your head freshly shaved with your beard right or whatever it is. When you're in that particular type of scenario where there's a 7 level of sexual attraction, it's really based off of you, valuing her enough to present your best self, right? So that's what validates her. It's the effort that you put in to set the mood and to set the vibe. At a 6 level of sexual attraction, she is validated by, you're investing time, energy, effort, probably multiple dates, a lot of time talking to her on the phone, and you're validating her to the point where she's going to have sex with you if she gets attached to that validation and knows that she can't continue to get that unless she gives you sex, right? Now, this can happen at different points across the board at that 6 level. And at a 5, there's nothing that you can do for her as far as multiple dates or spending money on her. The only thing that you can do is put money directly into her hand or be her sugar daddy, and then she'll think about giving you some sugar if you give her enough, and that's probably not going to happen. It's more so going to be a situation that either you come to an understanding where that's your arrangement and then you get transactional sex, or you come to a situation to where she knows she's not going to be able to keep those things, right? So let's jump back up some. Sometimes when it comes to these different aspects of validation, that doesn't mean that a woman is necessarily going to act on it. Sometimes the idea of getting these things from you is going to be enough for a woman to enjoy that, right? The more attracted to you she is, the more she can concentrate the validation that she gets to you versus spreading it out amongst a bunch of men who would have to do a lot more to give her a lot less, right? So she would need multiple men at a sixth level or to be very close to that sixth level of a man to give her a lot of validation in order for her to feel validated, right? In order for her to feel secure. In this particular situation and scenario, if she doesn't split that out, then she'll spend so much time at that sixth level with one particular man that she will either have to put up or she will have to shut up and keep it pushing if he cuts her off, or she may be in a situation where that man may coerce or take advantage of her, right? These are some things to think about. So she wants to stay away from that scenario by spreading out the validation she gets from like a sixth level of sexual attraction and spreading that out between multiple men. So that's like a lot of what goes on when women are like posting thirst traps online. She's not that attracted to those guys. And the fact that they're taking a certain approach with her kind of lumps them in automatically. Just like I said about cup theory, when her cup is low, she desires a beta male, or she desires, that type of energy from somebody. But one thing to think about is the concept of getting your hand caught in the cookie jar. This right here kind of just depends on you as a man, and this doesn't really depend as much on her sexual attraction level. It does. I'd have to think about where it fits into. Like, let's say you're communicating with a woman and you just know how to set up a conversation in a way to where she is going to be desiring your validation, right? Once she desires your validation, once she becomes an attention whore, if you don't give her the attention, she'll whore for your attention. It's as simple as that. Once she becomes an attention whore for you, if you recognize that and know how to change the rhythm, the pace, the consistency, the intensity, and then also to place what you want and insert that into the conversation, then a woman will get the gist without you telling her that if she wants you to validate her, she's going to have sex with you. Or she's only going to be able to receive that validation through sex. Now, that's something that can also happen, right? That's like a 9 level. That's if that, the value of your validation gets up that high, right? And this can work several ways and across different levels of sexual attraction. So it's hard to even tell in some of these scenarios where the sexual attraction is, if that's the way you're running your game. But things will kind of all tell, through time. Like, let's say you have like a genuine conversation with a woman, right? You make her feel good because you make her laugh or you make her smile and she feels good. And then you try to escalate sexually and she feels to herself like, you haven't done enough for me to want to do that, based off of how much she values you, right? So let's say in that particular situation, you don't get butthurt, you don't get mad. All you do is cut the conversation short when you can tell that she's not giving you that energy. Another way you can do it is if you can tell she's trying to be an attention whore and she is trying to siphon energy and attention and resources and validation from you by putting you in a platonic type of relationship. All you have to do, if she friend zones you, sister zone her. Or if you can tell she's about to cut you off, friend zone her first. And when you friend zone her first, something I've noticed that is very interesting that happens is oftentimes you could tell the difference between a real platonic friend of a woman and an attention whore by her reaction to you no longer giving her any validation when it comes to how attractive she is, especially if pre-selection is in place where she can see and hear from you and see online and see how other women are attracted to you and see your experiences and sees how you are sexually, like when she sees these things and you're not trying to come on to her, and you're not trying to put her on a pedestal about how attractive she is, and you're not trying to boost her head up, and you're not trying to validate her, emotionally, you're not trying to validate her romantically and sexually. Women desire sexual validation as well. And this is one thing that leads to a lot of scenarios that can go bad, because dudes who do not have enough game don't have the social skills to be playing this game, to where they will be in a situation with a woman who's simply just flirting with them to play around, but they're talking around the topic of sex, but not really saying what they're trying to do, or when they're trying to do it, and set it up and put the woman's feet to the fire in that particular type of way from a distance, you know what I mean, just like on the phone or something. When that particular thing happens, sometimes a woman is just talking about something sexual, in an indirect way, in order to get some more attention and in order to get a rise out of the man, and sometimes in order to lower her respect for the man by how easily he gives his approval, right? If you set the level of what a woman has to do to get your consistent communication, and to get your consistent validation, and to get any validation from you as far as how attractive she is or how sexy she is, if she has to fuck you to get that, and she's felt a little bit of that from you before, she knows it's good quality validation, and you are withholding it without doing it as if your butt hurt, then to her, it's going to raise the value of that in her mind, right? It's going to raise the value of that in her mind to the point where she will whore for your attention. Sometimes this type of thing can even work on a 5-6 level sexual attraction. Real shit. Sometimes it can even work then, where let's say you're platonic friends with a woman, or you're going on dates with her, but you're never trying to have sex with her. You're just being real cool. You're being real laid back. And you're not really trying to make a move on her, but she still wants that attention. After a while, the woman's going to be like, damn, why isn't this guy talking about sex? Why isn't he trying to fuck me? What's wrong with him? You know what? I got a feeling he's nasty. Why isn't he trying to be nasty with me? Does he not think I'm attractive enough? Then she's going to start to question herself. And once she gets into that mind state where she starts questioning herself, she's going to start probing you, right? And once that woman starts trying to probe you with sexual topics and sexual conversations, what you do is you have to know how to catch her hand in the cookie jar, which means she has to put her hand deep enough in to where she can't deny the fact that she was showing sexual interest, right? And then you immediately switch the subject, or you make her laugh, or you bring it up in a way that makes it clear what your intentions are. So let's say you're talking to a woman about cosplay, or you're talking to a woman about whatever the fuck you're talking to her about, and then she keeps trying to send you pictures of herself. Sometimes you could just be kind of dry with her, you know what I mean, like, oh, that's cool, you got a big ass forehead, you know what I mean, or she'll send you some pictures or something like that. Or another thing you can do is, let's say a woman is posting stuff on her story, and you skip past all the pictures of her to compliment her friends and say how sexy they are. That means she sees your sexual desire, your sexual energy, but you're not directing it towards her, right? When she sees that desire, but you're not directing it towards her, that can make that woman question herself. And once she questions herself, she will see you in a different light. And once she sees you in a different light, then she's going to re-look at you, right? Because sometimes when you're on social media, or when you're on dating apps, you're just another name and another face amongst the crowd. But until a woman is in a scenario to where she questions her own attractiveness and desirability when it comes to you, oftentimes she is not going to be in a position to where she can really see you in a way that creates a desire to have sex with you, because a lot of it is going to be based on how validated she can feel from having sex with you, right? And how good she thinks it'll be. See, a lot of it has to do with value. A lot of it has to do with validation. Validation isn't all the same. There's different qualities of it, right? Just like at the 10 level of sexual attraction, just having sex with you alone is enough to validate her ego. Sometimes that just happens through being dominant. Like if you're a dom, right? If like another way you can do that is, let's say a woman's giving you some head and you're looking at her real deadpan, and then you give her instructions, and then when you give her instructions, when she's sucking it, when she go on a little bit harder, showing more enthusiasm, then you tell her good girl. You know what I mean? It's the good girl effect. That's a big part of it. There's hand in the cookie jar, and there's good girl effect. Good girl is when she does what you say, right? And then you reward her for doing what you say. That's the good girl effect, right? But in order to reward her for doing what you say, you have to set the standard, right? You have to set the standard of her doing what you said in order for when she meets that standard, you can reward it. So you can reward it with the good girl, or you can reward it with moaning, right? You can reward it with that, or, you don't go out of your way to love and, praise her pictures or videos or stuff like that she sends you, unless she sends you exactly what you asked and in good time. And if she doesn't, then you can be kind of dry about it, right? That's the good girl effect, right? Let's say she's sucking your dick. You have enough discipline and enough experience to where you're acting really unfazed about what she's doing. You're just looking down like that picture of Jiren with his arms folded, right? And while you're looking down at this picture, you're looking down at her like that, and you're just looking kind of unbothered. That's when she's going to start trying harder, right? Because she's starting to question herself. And when she starts to question herself, that's when she starts trying harder, right? And when she starts trying harder, her attraction level is going to play a difference there, and her ego level is going to play a difference. How much she values that, right? But when she starts trying a little bit harder, if you give that woman, directions about what to do, and then she follows those directions, you can reward that behavior that she did to follow your instructions by moaning. Real or fake, doesn't really matter. And you reward her following your instructions by nutting in her mouth. See, a lot of guys, they'll look at getting head from a woman as her doing something for him. But when a woman respects you on a certain level to where pleasing you pleases her, because to see you experience pleasure validates her ego, then at that particular point in time, her sucking your dick is you allowing her to do something for herself. It's not even for you anymore. See, that's why emotional discipline is so important. That's why it's so important not to simp and to overvalue women, because when you simp for women, you rob them from the experience of getting validation that is actually valuable to them because of how scarce it is, or the fact that they had to actually do something to earn it. And you set the standard of what that was, right? A lot of women get a lot of loose validation, but it's very low in value, right? It's just like if you're having sex with a bunch of women who are unattractive, right? It doesn't matter how hard she tries. It doesn't do but so much for your ego, because you don't see her as that bad. But a woman is going to judge the quality and the value of validation based off of how masculine and dominant a man is. So, like, let's say I was dealing with my submissives, it's a dominant. In those particular scenarios, a woman would desire my validation. Like, she would desire it to the point where I could do whatever the fuck I wanted to do. And she would feel good. And I wouldn't take advantage of this, you know what I mean? I wouldn't, go overboard with it. But I would stretch. I would stretch it, push some boundaries, stretch some limitations, get women to experience things they never did before. This is really a big aspect of, what do I call it? The orgasm gap as well. This whole validation thing, this whole, masculinity thing. It's like you gotta have a actual pleasure there too, actual compatibility. But on some real shit, when a woman places you on a certain pedestal to where pleasing you or receiving pleasure from you or whatever it is, when a woman gets to the place where she can give over to pleasure and lose control, because below an 8 level of sexual attraction, a woman is validated by control. At an 8 level, it's just equivalent exchange, and there's no control factor there. That's why I always shoot for 8, but as the minimum, and then to work my way up. But when you start at that at 7 level and down, a woman is validated by having control over a man. But at the 8 level and up, a woman is validated by just the fact that you desire her is enough for her to feel good, so she already feels safe. She doesn't need you to try to make her comfortable to make her feel safe. If anything, you trying too hard to make her feel comfortable is going to make her feel bored. It's going to make her feel uncomfortable, because she wants you to take advantage